Hello guys, and welcome back to the Business Analytics course. Today we're going to be talking about the interviews, an exciting topic. Exciting topic for some, we'll try to make it exciting for everyone. In my professional life, I've conducted dozens and dozens of interviews, and today I thought I would share tips and tricks from my experience. These tips and tricks will be split into two categories. First one, generic pieces of advice. They will help you going to for an interview into any industry. And professional, specific pieces of advice, they will be geared more towards management consulting industry. So let's start with the first category. There are 5 pieces of advice I'm going to share with you today on the generic side. First one is do your homework. You can't underestimate how many people skip this step and go into the interview without preparation, without knowing what the interview would be about, without knowing even sometimes what the company does and where the offices are. This is an easy win that you can score, and you can do it at your own time and leisure. By knowing your company's name and ideally your interviewer's name, you can do some research. You can find out what are the clients of the company, what was the recent media exposure of the company, who works in the company, what type of people. You can research LinkedIn, and you can even get some connections and contact those people. Try to ask them out for a cup of coffee or give them a call with their permission. They've been in your shoes before that. They will be keen to share their experience, most likely. And if you have the name of your interviewer, try to do some research into his or her background. Try to understand what's the education of your interviewer. Is it engineering background? Is it economical background? Is it art? This will help you inform the type of thinking, or at least make an educated guess of what sort of topics and the expressions and the way of thinking would help you the most. So this is number 1, do your homework. Point number 2, make a killer first impression, and try to do it in every aspect of the interview. So by doing many interviews, I found out that my impression of a candidate is formed pretty much in the first few minutes of an interview. This is probably a terrible thing to say, but the way a person engages at the very start determines the pace of my thinking as an interviewer and the way I'm planning and going to help my candidate. So I'm listening very attentively in the first few minutes because I want to adjust to the same wavelength and be helpful in the interview. So if you are making a first impression that shows you as a very passionate, structured, analytical person, and that you have a game plan, that puts an interviewer at ease. It makes him feel more comfortable and knowing that you're in control. And I have to, myself as an interviewer, breathe out and enjoy the conversation. If you will be struggling at the very beginning, then the beginning of your interview will get a bit of attention, and I will be always thinking about every phrase you are saying and thinking whether I should be helping you or not. So first impression is important. A lot of final opinion will be based on your first impression. Additionally, I want you to think of an interview as a series of sections. There is a structure that interviewers follow when they mark and rank their candidates, and that structure usually has some aspects that we have to mark, sometimes on a scale from 1 to 5, from 1 to 10, percentage-wise, it doesn't matter. But there are certain aspects or certain sections that you will have to go through, and as an interviewer, I have to assess those sections every single time. So if you can make a good first impression every time, for example, at the beginning you have an introduction, try to make it a blast in the first 2 minutes. Then we are going to be moving to the case study section. Try to put all your energy in those first few minutes of that case study by demonstrating a great structure, by showing passion, by asking the relevant questions at the beginning. That will bring you a lot of credibility in the interviewer's eyes up front. So every section and every beginning of every section of the interview should deserve your specific attention. Point number 3, demonstrate your values and manners as if you're in front of your good friend. Try to think of an interviewer as a long-term friend, not as a one-off occurrence or one-off interaction. Try to be polite, be on time, be accommodating in terms of moving your interview around if the time doesn't suit interviewer anymore. So just try to be your normal self and try to not to hide your values. Don't think of it as a transactional occurrence being your interview. Try to think of it as a long-term investment into relationship. Number 4, interview is a dialogue, not a monologue. Very, very important to think about your interviewer as your partner. It's not your enemy. The interviewer is not your opposition. The interviewer is there usually to help. We are beyond excited when people can make it through and can join the company, and we are there to help. So ask a question, try to throw a question that would show you from a very good side of things. Try to run an idea by an interviewer. Try to consider him or her being a part of your team and ask an interesting question or bounce something off him or her. That would score you some additional points and will make the particular interview an interesting process for both you and interviewer. Number 5, relax and enjoy. After all, interviews are small representations of what your daily life would be at this company. If you are not enjoying the given interview you're in, then there are chances that you might not enjoy working for that company. So try to relax and feel the interview, feel the environment and a dialogue with your interviewer, and extrapolate it to your future life in that company. So try to relax, enjoy, and make it a nice time. From professional point of view, there are fewer points, but hopefully you'll find them useful. First of all, when you are going into the management consulting industry, we expect you to be logical. We expect you to summarize your findings well at the end and do it in a very logical and structured way. I'm going to be talking about specific tips and how to summarize well in another tutorial. Check it out. But to set up expectations, we want you to be logical. Point number 2, the math should be perfect. It doesn't need to be extra fast. Fast is good, but being correct is a must. If you're making mistakes, no matter at what pace you're doing your math, this is not going to be looking good. And better take extra time and double check your calculation, especially when you're making final recommendation, and ask even to give you some additional time, but do your math perfectly. Number 3, client friendliness. It's an important concept and it's quite widely used in management consulting even after you've been hired. What we mean by that is whether we can leave you in front of a client without any supervision or not for an extended period of time. Imagine you're an analyst that is joining consulting and you've been left on site, for example, to work on Thursday, Friday, while your manager went to the head office to make a presentation to a CEO or a CEO. You'll be approached by clients and obviously they will be asking questions about both yourself and the company. Management consulting companies want to trust you. to represent them while there is no management to help you out. So your ability to speak in a very confident manner, to make to ensure that you're not giving away any confidential information about other clients will be a must. And in a particular example, in your interview, if you are using client names, the amount of specific numbers of the benefits you've achieved for a particular division and or office, while especially if the company is publicly listed, that will likely to demonstrate you as a person who doesn't care about company's secrets. You have to position your information in a very friendly, let me try to explain it, in a very open way, that if this information is heard by anyone in this world, they'll be perceived really well. So being client friendly is quite important. And the first point, which is your interview, will make a lot of impression about how friendly you will be in the client environment. Point number 4, business acumen. We just want to be well read and know the basics of the field you're getting into. Knowing the lingo, the terminology from P&L statements, we want you to know the specifics of the clients we work with. To give you an example, if a management consulting company specializes in heavy industry, it'll be worthwhile exploring some basics of the open cut and underground mining to know that these are your potential clients, for example. If you are going to interview for a bank, into a bank and into investment banking, it'll be worthwhile to know the relevant terminology in the financial world. So being well read in the industry you're interviewing into is quite important. That is it. That's all I wanted to share with you today. I hope you found it useful, and I hope that these pieces of advice will help you score an ace.